Hi everybody, welcome to this week's video. My name is Jim and this is Sprague Woodturning. So, this is the 40,000 subscriber giveaway bowl, and if you're not familiar, I give away bowls every 5,000 subscribers. So hey, if you haven't subscribed, please do that. That way I can give away more bowls. Now, we hit 40,000 subscribers quite some time ago, and the reason why it's taken this long to do the bowls, because I've been on holidays in Mexico for 12 days with my wife, with friends and family. So this is really, I had to wait to get back to Canada here so that I could finish doing this bowl for the 40,000 subs. So it's we had a great time down there. First time out of the country in basically 3 years. Resort was super packed, as you can imagine, full of Canadians, by the way, and we had a great time. So um, in March was crazy numbers. Uh, I'd gotten over 3,500 new subscribers in March, which is, it's been a long time since I've seen that many subscribers on my channel. So thank you so much for subscribing. We've got a bunch of new people on board, and that's great. So what I'm going to do with this week's project, or this, for the 40,000 subscriber giveaway bowl, is I'm going to use some birch burl that I'm cutting up right here. And I didn't show it in the beginning, but I decided to throw in some pine cone as well to give this a little bit more visual interest. So I'm just in the process of shaping these blocks of wood so they'll fit into my casting bucket. And we'll have to clean off all the bark as well. Whenever I do any resin casting, I always remove all the bark. I never leave it on. But these pieces were kind of small, so it was really hard to use my circle jig on some of them, my circle cutting jig. So here I'm just kind of grinding it down by hand on my belt sander. I will say this yellow birch burl, this bark was on there. I probably could have left it. It was, it took quite a bit of effort to get it off and get it cleaned off to the wood surface. But anyway, it's off now, and like I said, I probably could have left it because it was, man, it was on there. So last thing I want to do is just take my little flap sander I've got here just to clean up any of the bark side of this piece. And it does a really good job doing that as well. And to give the resin a tooth to bond to as well. Wanted to glue these pieces in place so they don't move around on me. Spacing was important here. I figured for this form, why don't we try some pine cones? We haven't done those yet. I mainly just got that center one in there to try and bridge that. And I'm just going to use a little bit of CA glue to hopefully retain these pieces, up against the burl so they're not going to move. I don't really want to stick any hot glue in there because there's a good chance we'll see that as well. So, I'm just going to here and there hit it with some CA glue, and hopefully it'll hold these pine cones in place. And it won't float. Let's mix some resin up. Deep casting epoxy from Designer Epoxy. So as you may or may not know, Designer Epoxy does sponsor my channel. I'm so glad that I've decided to work with them and they've decided to work with me. This is the new deep cast from them, which is a thinner formula, so it will flow better. If you're having issues with bubbles and cracks not being filled when you're doing resin casting, I strongly recommend trying this product. This is now the second casting that I've had with this, and you'll see later on in the video here that I didn't have to do any filling at all. So it's a great product. I'm so happy that they decided to sponsor my channel. I watch a ton of these videos here on YouTube, and I see it. There's a lot of bubbles, cracks don't get filled, and rarely does that happen with this product. It can happen, but rarely. Anyway, if you want to try this epoxy, just use code INLAYGEM at checkout and you will get 10% off your order. All right, we're gonna try and pour these at the same time, evenly, which is easier said than done. This, I think, is gonna look pretty darn nice. All right, well, we'll see you in 72 hours. All right, it's been 3 days. Looking for a little more color separation than that. Let's see what it looks like inside. As you can see, I mean, it's dropped off quite a bit. That yellow birch burl absorbed probably about an inch of resin. So anyway, it's not quite as tall as I'd hoped it would be, but I think it's still going to make a pretty interesting piece. Will it come out? Nah. Yes, sir. Well, I guess we won't be using that bucket anymore. I didn't think it would do that. Oh well. There it is. Good. We did have some color separation. I wasn't sure when I first looked at it. I thought that it was all blended together a little bit. All right, let's get our center and get it on the lathe. All right, I've got it mounted between centers. It's off a little bit, not too bad. I'm going to be using Hunter Tools Hercules. Let's see what's inside this beautiful little piece. 750. Just getting back to the casting bucket for a minute. Make sure that you're wearing safety glasses when if you decide to use this method. As you see in the bottom of that, just blew open. So I mean that could throw all kinds of plastic in the air and hit you in the face, the eye. So it's probably a good idea to be wearing a face shield when you're doing applying air pressure like that. Uh, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought for sure that the casting would pop, break free before the bottom of that bucket let go. But it's you always got to be on your toes. You always got to be on the toes. All right, so unfortunately, we didn't get a lot of color separation with these two colors. The magenta and the rainbow blue combined each other. They made an absolutely fantastic deep purple. But it's a very nice color. I like it, but it certainly kind of wasn't what I was going for. But in the end, it all works out. And again, this is one of those real-time clips. I promise to leave these in so that people get a sense of how fast I'm going. And again, using the Hercules almost like a gouge, and it does a really, really good job. So when I originally cast this, I was thinking that I was going to go for kind of a semi-enclosed form. Um, After I got shaping it, I was worried that I was going to lose a lot of that pine cone look. So you've seen it in the thumbnail, kind of the form that I ended up with. And that was really to kind of save the pine cone look. Because I think that if I had have rounded off both the top and the bottom of this piece, that it really we would have lost a lot of that pine cone look. So that's why I went in this direction if you're curious. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if this is kind of a form that I've done on the channel. I don't think it is. So here I'm just trying to get down to solid wood on both sides of the casting. There you can see where it's still got resin all over top of it. So I don't like that look. So I always try to remove that resin that's sitting on top of the wood surface like that. I just find that if you leave that on there, it kind of muddies the look of the casting or the finished product. So that's why I like to remove that. I could have ended up with a larger piece, but sometimes bigger is not better. This is a coarse Kutzall grinding disc, and it does a great job grinding back that resin, prepping it for the glue block. All right, so I'm still getting quite a few questions about these made-up faceplates for my lathe. Now, on the outside of this lathe, I made an adapter to fit, and I already had a bunch of these faceplates made, so that's why I made that adapter. Other than that, I would have gotten the nuts that are the right size to fit my lathe. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because I'm doing finish turning on the outside of my lathe and not on the inboard side. And again, that's just because I'm left-handed. So very simple. Find the right size nut that will fit your lathe. This is 1/4-inch plate steel. You can actually buy washers. You'll have to go to some industrial supply company to get them. I made my own, and here's the steel right here. And again, that's 1/4-inch. So all I did was get one of these bi-metal hole saws that the size you want, 3.5 inches, typically what I use. Punch out the first hole, and then clamp that disc in a vise that goes on your drill press, and then punch out the center hole. Keep it in mind that here's your center already through the plate, so that of course would go into here, and then you're going to punch out the center. Once that's done, you can take a bolt and a nut and sandwich another nut on there. So this would go through the plate. Remember, this is going to be the same size as the small hole. That way, when the nut gets welded onto the plate, it's centered perfectly. So run the nut down that you're going to weld onto this plate, onto this, and then put the other nut on here and lock it down. And then that way it's not going to move around you. And at the time I didn't have a welder to do this, so a friend of mine did it, but it was welded in 3 spots on this nut, and then drill your holes, and that's it. Simple, cheap. Probably the most expensive thing is going to be these nuts, depending on what size you need. Anyway, even if this is off a little bit, it doesn't really matter, because when this is mounted on the lathe and this is trued up, this is the surface that matters, not so much this. Sometimes in some of these videos you'll see this wobbling around quite a bit, but it really doesn't matter because this is the surface that's trued up. Anyway, I thought I would cover that again. Very cheap, inexpensive face plates. I've got like probably 25 of these, and when I was in full production I would use them pretty much all. But of course, now that I'm on YouTube, that's not such a thing anymore. Anyway, it's a great way to do
bowls where you have multiple coats of finish on them. And anyway, I've been doing it for years and rarely ever lost a piece off it.
Now the bowl's mounted in the coal jaws. I'm just cleaning up the very bottom of the bowl so that the glue block sits nice and flat on it. And since I'm moving outboard, I wanted to drill out the center of this on my drill press. For you righties that work inside, over the bed, lathe bed, you have the advantage here because you use your tailstock, bring that up and take it out that way with your tailstock. But on the outboard end of my lathe, I don't have that luxury. So, it was a little off after putting it back on the lathe, and but it didn't take very much to true it up. And you'll see me using the gouge, and you'll see me using the Hercules here from Hunter Tool Systems. Um, I was having a real hard time getting this birch to cut cleanly. So that's why you see me kind of going back and forth with the gouge and with the Hercules. More or less using the Hercules like a roughing tool and then fine tuning the surface with shear scraping with the gouge. And that's again, you've seen that on here a number of times. I do find that shear scraping, especially on the outside of a bowl, will give you a superior surface over pretty much anything else. And there's shear scraping right there. And that does a really good job cleaning up that surface. You can see a little bit of that pine cone coming through there now as well.
All right, so we're getting ready to do the inside. I was going for a different profile on this. This is dished. I kind of wish that maybe we'd see more of the core, but I don't want to go really extreme with it in order for that to happen. So I think the figure of the pine cone is going to be better on the inside than it is on the outside. That's just the way it is. We haven't done a profile like this, and so that's kind of why I want to do this. Regardless, I still think this is going to be a beautiful little bowl when it's done.
So I'm just hogging out the inside of this, trying to get it done. Since we have so many new subscribers, I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. I've been wood turning now for probably 24 years. I am retired from the Canadian Armed Forces. I did 24 years in the Army and did wood turning on the side as a hobby. So I retired in 2012 from the military and started a full-time business traveling basically all the shows in Ontario here in province of Ontario in Canada. And of course, COVID hit, shut all them shows down. And my son had been pushing me for years to get on YouTube. And I was just kind of like, I don't know anything about video editing and shooting video. And so anyway, here we are now. And I love it. I absolutely love making these videos for you guys, and I really hope that you continue to enjoy them. Seeing my subscription base grow is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. Shockingly enough, only 9.9% of the people that watch my videos have subscribed to my channel. So man, you imagine what it would be if I could get everybody to subscribe. So, hey, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. So, the majority of that was done with the Hercules. Now, again, I was having a hard time getting a nice clean cut on the inside of that. So that's why I switched to the gouge, and it really did a good job cleaning that up. And again, this is a real-time clip, and that will show you again the speed that I'm pulling that gouge from the base out to the rim of the bowl. With the majority of this piece being wood, I certainly probably could have turned it with the gouge. The problem, of course, is high-speed steel cannot compete with carbide cutting tools when it comes to working with resin or wood as far as that is concerned. You will sharpen high-speed steel a lot more than you ever would carbide, and carbide's pretty much impossible to sharpen unless you have diamond sharpening tools. So there you go. That's a pretty clean surface. I'm happy with that. And we'll be moving on to sanding here.
All right, so it was actually pointed out to me in the comments that I sand from 60 to 800, but they're kind of curious what the grits were, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I never really have. So I always start at 60. Well, not always, but usually at 60, 80, 120, 180, 240, 320, 400, 500, 600, 700, and 800.
And these are the 3.5-inch dimple discs from sandpaper.ca. Before these guys sponsored my channel, I've been using them for many years, and I highly recommend their products as well. And again, if you use code InlayJim at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. Last little step before putting on any finish is to buff the resin with Triple-E buffing compound from the Be All buffing system. And again, all the links are in the description down below for the products I use in the videos. And the last thing is to use some denatured alcohol to clean the surface before the finish.
All right, so this week we are going to be using Waterlox Original VOC Medium Sheen. This birch burl will probably take 3 coats for sure, maybe even more. All right, I haven't really shown much of this, and that's because I figured that I would wait till the first coat to finish, kind of showcase this piece. Our 2 colors have blended, and we've got a purple. But it is a pretty spectacular purple, I must say. I love how the pine cone's coming through here. Not a ton of chatoyance in here. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of this shimmery grain that you see here. Inside, looking at the camera, this is a lot lighter. It looks more blue in the camera, but it's actually quite purpley. But just can't really show you the inside of that. A little bit there. It looks really nice. Trust me, it does. All right, we'll let this sit overnight, and we'll do second coat tomorrow. See you then. Well, all right, it is the next day, and I thought that I would show you the surface before I actually did any buffing. You can tell that some of the end grain isn't really filled in all that great. Great thing about resin is resin really only needs 1 coat of finish on it. Inside, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, down in this area here where it's predominantly just all end grain, it's just pretty much absorbed. This might just take 2 coats. We'll have to see. But anyway, I thought that I would show that before I put the second coat on to give you an idea what it looks like after the first coat.
So for the new people, before I put any other finish on, I always buff with the Triple-E buffing compound prior to that, and then clean the surface again with denatured alcohol. And I follow that step if I'm doing 2 coats or I'm doing 10 coats.
All right, so this is the second coat of Waterlox. And again, this stuff covers really well, so, you know, 2 coats might do it, which is typically not the case for birch. Birch usually will take a minimum of 3 coats to do, but we'll see.
Birch is one of those species that's actually quite hard to get a real good finish on. So if you can get a good shiny finish on birch, you can probably get it on pretty much anything.
Well, there you go. I mean, I am really impressed with the Waterlox and the way that it covers. It's certainly probably the best finish that I've ever worked with as far as coverage is concerned. Again, this is more purpley than blue when I'm looking in the screen here. I don't know, maybe it is purpley in there. You know, it's nice. I really, really like it. She's a beaut, Clark. She's a beaut.
Since I'm happy with the finish, I'm using the 3/16" parting tool from Crown, and you'll see here in a minute, I leave about 1" to 1.5" typically on the very base holding the bowl, and just finish it off with a handsaw. If you're curious, that waste block is actually made from ash. If you're going to use this waste block method, make sure you use hardwoods and not softwoods. Softwoods won't hold a screw as good, and of course they're softer. So you definitely don't want your glue block to break in half. So strongly recommend using hardwoods for that. So here we're mounted on the vacuum chuck, just cleaning things up again with the gouge. And this again was sanded from 60 to 800 and without emitting any of the grits. All right, it's time to pick a winner. Good luck to everybody, and I'll talk to you at the very end when we're talking about this week's project.
So, all right, here is the names that the random YouTube comment picker has kicked out, and these are from each video. I load the video URL into the comment picker and it selects a name. So if you see her name on here, Patricia May, she's got 2, so I mean the odds are in her favor that she's going to win, but you never know. All right, just wanted to show you is that you were this close. All right, let's pick a name. Well, all right, there's our names in our pretty little bowl. Mix those all up. Try not to look. Okay, who we got? Odds will have it. Patricia May, you are the winner of the 40,000 subscriber giveaway bowl. Congratulations. And you know, Patricia, she comments on every video that I do. I know that for sure. And if you're curious, the sky blue urn, that was the video that the comment picker selected her name. All right, so if you can get a hold of me, send an email to spraguewoodturning@gmail.com. I will get that bowl mailed out to you. Thanks a lot for commenting, and it just goes to show you that if you do, you might be able to get a bowl from me. Thanks, Patricia. All right, so before we talk about the bowl, I want to address something that happened at the last giveaway. Somebody was acting on my behalf saying that, you know, I wanted you to cover the shipping and they had won the bowl. That is not correct. That is fraudulent behavior. Do not entertain that. If you win a bowl from me, I am shipping it to you worldwide at my expense. I don't care if it's $20 or $200. Worldwide at my expense. I will never ask you to pay for anything if you want a bowl. All right, so please don't get roped into that. The project, 6 inches across, 3.5 inches tall, and certainly not the color that I initially was going for. I'm not gonna lie. Regardless, that deep purple color and that pearl is fantastic. You can see the pine cone in there. It looks pretty nice. And again, that new formula, Deep Cast from Designer Epoxy, has done a fantastic job filling everything in. Probably the main reason why This only took 2 coats is because it's penetrated so well into the blank. As you can see, I only signed on the wood. This still needs one more coat of finish on the very bottom, and then it will be done. And this is the first true resin piece, giveaway piece that I've done. And it's a great little nut bowl or candy bowl or whatever Patricia would like to use it for, because it's food safe. So there's that. Before we went to Mexico for 12 days, I shot 3 videos, and I said, yeah, we're going to hit 40,000 probably on the last one. So that's kind of how I planned it out, but we hit 40,000 on the first one. So all the videos were kind of shot in sequence, so you can't really do anything about it. So that's kind of why this has taken so long to do. We definitely needed to get out of here. We've been locked up in the house here for better part of 3 years. So we needed a holiday, so went down south with family and friends, and we had a great time. While I was there, though, I mean, my account just exploded. 3,500 new subscribers in March, which is way above. Typically, in between 12 and 1,500 a month is what I've been getting. So that big jump, I think, is a direct result of the Banksia pod vase. Still taking it from the Aussies on the pronunciation, Banksia pod vase. Anyway, that's what's leading the charge. Lots of new subscribers, and that's really probably what's driving my channel right now. By the time this airs, it's probably going to be over 700,000 views. That's only 5 weeks ago, so that's certainly a big for me. So thank you so much for everybody that has subscribed, and if you haven't, please consider doing that. Right now, I suspect that we're going to be close to 43,000 or over that by the time this airs. So it won't be long before we'll have to do a 45,000 subscriber giveaway bowl. So please put a comment down below, and you can get your name entered into the draw, and you never know, you might be able to win a bowl like Patricia. As far as what we're doing next week, I'm not 100% sure. I've got something that I want to get off my chest, so it may be that, or might be maybe a natural inlay. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm undecided. All right, well, that's it. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for that thumbs up, and even for that thumbs down. That will help the channel as well, believe it or not. All right, well, that's it. Till next week, take care, stay safe. Please share with your friends, and we'll see you next week.